I built homes for a living, but never expected my own foundation to crumble. When I discovered Amanda's secret phone calls, I walked away that night, only to have her return months later with a truth that shattered everything I thought I knew. Some betrayals cut deeper than others, especially when they involve another man and a child who may not be mine. My name is Jack Wilson. I'm 38, and I've spent most of my adult life building my construction business from scratch. Looking back now, I realize that all those years focusing on solid foundations for homes never prepared me for the shaky ground my own life would stand on. They say hindsight is 20/20ths. If I'd paid more attention to the warning signs, maybe I could have avoided the whole mess. But when you think you found the one, your brain has a funny way of filtering out the red flags. I'm sharing this story as a warning to other guys who might be blinded by what they think is love. I met Amanda 3 years ago at a charity golf tournament. I was there representing my company as a sponsor, and she was working for the nonprofit organizing the event. The attraction was immediate. She had this confident way about her, intelligent eyes, and a smile that seemed genuine in a world full of fake. Unlike the women I typically met who were impressed by what I did, Amanda seemed more interested in who I was. Our first date lasted 5 hours. We started with dinner and ended up walking along the riverfront until midnight, talking about everything from our childhoods to our dreams. She told me about growing up in Maine with 3 brothers, how she put herself through college, and her passion for helping veterans through her work. I shared stories about learning construction from my old man, the satisfaction of creating something permanent, and my plans to expand the business into sustainable building practices. "You actually care about your work," she said, looking at me with those deep blue eyes. "That's rare these days." "It's all I know," I replied honestly. "Build things right or don't build them at all." My buddy Mike had been warning me for years about rushing into relationships. "You jump in with both feet, Jack. Take your time for once," he'd say. But with Amanda, everything just clicked. 3 months in, we were practically living together. By 6 months, I was house hunting for a place big enough for both of us. We found a beautiful colonial that needed some work, perfect for a contractor like me. Amanda was excited about the project, offering ideas for the kitchen redesign and choosing paint colors. Watching her plan our future home, I knew I wanted to make things official. The proposal wasn't anything fancy, just us on the back deck of the unfinished house, sunset casting long shadows across what would become our yard. The ring was my grandmother's, reset with a larger stone. When Amanda said yes, I felt like the luckiest man alive. Little did I know that the foundation of our relationship had cracks I couldn't see, cracks that would eventually bring everything crashing down. Amanda moved into my place a month after the proposal. It seemed like the practical thing to do. Why pay rent on her apartment when she spent most nights with me anyway? Plus, it would give us time to plan the wedding while renovating our future home. I cleared half my closet, emptied 2 dresser drawers, and made room in the garage for her gardening supplies. The first few weeks of living together were better than I expected. No awkward adjustments or fights about toothpaste caps or toilet seats. We fell in an easy rhythm, like we'd been doing this for years. "You're not like other guys I've dated," Amanda said one night as we sat on the porch, sharing a bottle of wine. "Most men would be freaking out about losing their bachelor freedom by now. Maybe I'm just ready for something real," I replied, squeezing her hand. "Something that lasts." My buddy Mike invited us to dinner with his wife, Sarah, the following weekend. They'd been together since high school and had the kind of solid marriage I wanted. "So when's the big day?" Sarah asked as we finished dessert. Amanda smiled, leaning into me. "We're thinking next spring. Jack wants to finish the house first." "Smart man," Mike said, raising his glass. "Build the nest before you settle in." Later, as the women cleared dishes, Mike pulled me aside. "She seems great, Jack." "Really? Just remember what happened with Diane." I stiffened at the mention of my ex. "This is different." "Of course it is," he backpedaled, patting my shoulder. "Just saying, you went all in with Diane too, and that blindsided you." "I appreciate the concern," I said firmly, "but I know what I'm doing this time." Driving home, Amanda was quiet. "Everything okay?" I asked, reaching for her hand. "Who's Diane?" Her voice was casual, but I recognized the tension underneath. I kept my eyes on the road. "An ex from years ago. Ancient history." "Serious. We were engaged," I admitted. "It didn't work out." Amanda nodded slowly. Anything else I should know? I could have told her everything then. How Diane cheated, how I found out at our rehearsal dinner, how I walked away without looking back. But something held me back. Maybe I didn't want to seem like damaged goods. Nothing important, I said finally. It was a long time ago. That night, as we got ready for bed, I caught Amanda looking at me differently. Not suspicious exactly, but assessing. Like she was trying to reconcile this new piece of information with what she knew about me. I should have told her the whole story. Should have explained why Mike was concerned, why I had trust issues despite my all-in approach to relationships. But I convinced myself it didn't matter, that the past was the past. 2 weeks later, I took Amanda to see the renovations on our future home. The contractors had finished the framing and electrical work, and for the first time, you could really visualize the final product. "It's perfect," she whispered, standing in what would be our master bedroom, sunlight streaming through the newly installed windows. Looking at her in that moment, I felt certain everything would be different this time. This was my second chance at happiness, and I wasn't going to let anything ruin it. 3 months into our engagement, I started noticing subtle changes in Amanda. Nothing dramatic, just small shifts in her behavior that didn't add up. She'd been enthusiastic about wedding plans initially, collecting magazines, and creating Pinterest boards. Now when I brought up venue options or dates, she'd redirect the conversation. "We have plenty of time," she'd say, kissing my cheek. "Let's focus on the house first." I chalked it up to stress. Amanda had recently taken on a bigger role at the nonprofit, managing their fundraising campaign. Some nights, she'd come home exhausted, barely saying a word before falling into bed. I tried to be understanding. God knows I'd had periods of being consumed by work myself. Then came the missed dinners. First with my parents, which I could forgive. My dad can be overwhelming. Then with the architect finalizing our kitchen plans. She texted last minute about an emergency donor meeting. The third time, when she didn't show for dinner with my oldest friend Tom, visiting from California, was harder to brush off. "Everything okay with you two?" Tom asked as we sat at the restaurant table. Amanda's chair conspicuously empty. "She's swamped at work," I explained, checking my phone again. "No messages." Tom raised an eyebrow. "You sure that's all it is?" I felt a flare of defensiveness. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." He backpedaled, raising his hands. "Just making sure you're happy." That night, Amanda came home after midnight. I was still up, sitting in the dark living room. "Jack, you scared me," she gasped, flipping on the light. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" "Waiting for you," I said evenly. "You missed dinner with Tom." She pressed her hand to her mouth. "Oh God, I completely forgot." There was this crisis with a donor backing out, and then Sarah needed help with the presentation for tomorrow, and "It's fine." I cut her off, not wanting to hear excuses. "Just call next time." I stood up, intent on heading to bed, when I caught a whiff of something. Cologne, definitely not mine. Amanda must have noticed my pause because she quickly moved toward the bathroom. "I need a shower. Coming to bed soon." I nodded, watching her retreat. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. She worked with plenty of men, could have hugged someone in celebration or consolation. But as I lay in bed waiting for her, a memory surfaced. Diane, my ex, coming home late with the same vague excuses, the same need to shower immediately. When Amanda finally slipped under the covers, I pretended to be asleep. I wasn't ready for the conversation we needed to have. Not yet. First, I needed to be sure I wasn't letting old wounds cloud my judgment. Tomorrow, I decided, I'd surprise her at the office for lunch. See for myself what this all-consuming project really looked like. After all, trust but verify, my father's favorite saying in business. Maybe it was time to apply it to my personal life too. I didn't make it to Amanda's office the next day. A crisis at the Thompson project required my attention. Structural issues that could compromise the entire building if not addressed immediately. By the time I got home that evening, my concerns about Amanda's behavior had taken a back seat to exhaustion. She was already there, cooking dinner, unusual given her recent schedule. More surprising was the bottle of my favorite bourbon on the counter and 2 glasses. "Rough day?" she asked, coming over to kiss me. "I heard about the Thompson site from Mike." I raised an eyebrow. "You called Mike?" "He called me, actually. Said you looked like you needed a good meal and some TLC. The gesture should have warmed me, but something felt off. Amanda rarely cooked, and she and Mike weren't exactly phone buddies. That was thoughtful. I said carefully, watching her expression. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Why don't you shower while I finish up? Upstairs, I checked my phone. No missed calls from Mike. I texted him. Thanks for looking out today. His reply came quickly. No problem. What did I do? I stared at the message, a cold feeling settling in my gut. Why would Amanda lie about something so easily verifiable? Over dinner, I kept the conversation on neutral ground, the house renovations, an upcoming charity event. Amanda seemed eager to maintain the facade of normalcy, asking detailed questions about the Thompson project. So, what did Mike tell you exactly? I asked casually, refilling her wine glass. She hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Just that there were structural problems, that you'd had to call in engineers. Right. I nodded, taking a sip of bourbon. And when did he call you? This afternoon, around 3, she said, twirling pasta on her fork. What? No reason. I smiled tightly, just curious about the timeline. Later, as she loaded the dishwasher, I leaned against the counter. Amanda, is everything okay with us? She froze momentarily, then continued rinsing a plate. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? You've been distant lately. Working late, missing dinners, forgetting plans we made. She turned, drying her hands on a towel. I told you, work is crazy right now. The capital campaign. Mike didn't call you today, I said quietly. Her expression shifted, almost imperceptibly. What? Mike didn't call you. I enunciated each word clearly. So I'm asking again, what's going on? Amanda's posture changed, straightening as if preparing for battle. You're checking up on me? Verifying my stories with your friends. Wouldn't need to if you weren't lying to me. I replied evenly, refusing to be baited into defensiveness. Her eyes narrowed. I'm not having this conversation. You clearly don't trust me. Give me a reason to trust you. I countered. Tell me where you really were last night. Why you came home smelling like another man's cologne. She flinched, then recovered quickly. I was at work. With colleagues. Male colleagues. If that makes you jealous. This isn't about jealousy. I cut in. It's about honesty. Partnership. Remember those things. Amanda grabbed her purse. I need some air. We can talk when you're being reasonable. I stepped aside, letting her pass. Just to be clear, I'm not Diane. I won't be made a fool of twice. She paused at the door, something like guilt flickering across her face. Then she was gone. I didn't follow. Instead, I poured another bourbon and called Mike. I need a favor, I said when he answered. Something doesn't add up with Amanda, and I need to find out what's really going on. Amanda didn't come home that night. I didn't call or text. My pride wouldn't allow it. Instead, I spent the evening looking through our photos, revisiting memories that now seemed suspect. Had she been pulling away even then? Had I been too consumed with work to notice? The next morning, I headed to the new house to check on progress. Physical labor had always cleared my head, and God knows I needed clarity now. I was installing cabinets when I heard the front door open. Mike appeared in the doorway. Thought I'd find you here. Come to check on the crazy friend. I asked, continuing to work. Come to see if you're all right, he corrected, picking up a screwdriver. Want to talk about it? I shook my head. Not much to say. Amanda's hiding something. When I confronted her, she bolted. Any idea what she's hiding? The question hung heavy between us. I have suspicions, I finally admitted. Same story, different woman. Mike nodded, understanding immediately. You don't know that for sure, Jack. Don't I? The late nights, the excuses, the defensiveness when questioned. It's Diane all over again. We worked in silence for a while, the rhythm of construction offering temporary comfort. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Can we talk tonight? I'll explain everything. I showed Mike. What do you think? I think you hear her out, he said. But remember, you walked away from Diane because you deserve better. That hasn't changed. That evening, I sat waiting in our living room, determined to remain calm regardless of what Amanda told me. When she finally arrived, her eyes were red-rimmed from crying. I'm sorry, she began, sitting across from me rather than beside me. I should have been honest from the start. About. She took a deep breath. I've been meeting with my ex, Brian. Not romantically, she added quickly. He's been helping me with a situation at work. What situation requires secret meetings and lies? I asked, keeping my voice steady. The organization is under investigation, she admitted. Financial irregularities before my time, but as the current fundraising director, I'm implicated. Brian's a forensic accountant. It sounded plausible, but years in construction had taught me to spot shaky foundations. Why the secrecy? Why not tell me? Because of how you talked about Diane, Amanda said softly. You said you'd never tolerate dishonesty again. I was afraid if I mentioned working with an ex, you'd assume the worst. So instead, you acted exactly like someone with something to hide. I know how it looks, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. Prove it, I said simply. Show me emails about this investigation. Call Brian now, put him on speaker. Her expression shifted. You don't trust me at all, do you? Trust is earned, I replied. Right now, you're in deficit. Amanda stood. I thought you were different. I thought you could understand complicated situations, but you're just looking for reasons to push me away. I'm looking for the truth, I corrected. Your reluctance to provide it tells me everything I need to know. I stood too, suddenly clear on what needed to happen. I think you should stay somewhere else for a while. I need time to process whether there's anything left here worth saving. Jack, I'm not doing this again. I cut her off. I left the night Diane lied, thinking it was over. I can leave again. I grabbed my keys and jacket and walked out, not looking back at her tears. Some might call it heartless, but I'd learned the hard way that self-respect had to come before comfort. This time, I wouldn't wait around to be made a fool of. I spent the night at Mike's place, ignoring the stream of texts and calls from Amanda. By morning, I had 15 missed messages ranging from apologetic to angry. I deleted them all without reading. Harsh, Mike commented, watching me over his coffee mug. Necessary, I countered. I need clarity, not emotional manipulation. I headed to work early, throwing myself into the Thompson project with singular focus. Physical labor had always been my therapy. Concrete problems with concrete solutions. No hidden agendas, no lies, just honest work. Around noon, my foreman Dave approached cautiously. There's someone here to see you. Says it's important. I looked up to see Amanda, standing at the edge of the site, looking out of place in her business clothes. For a moment, I considered sending her away. Instead, I nodded to Dave and walked over, keeping my hard hat on, a small barrier between us. This isn't a good time, I said flatly. I know. She looked tired, makeup failing to hide the circles under her eyes. But I couldn't let things stay like this. She held out a manila folder. Everything about the investigation. Emails between me and Brian, correspondence with the board, the preliminary findings report. I took it but didn't open it. This doesn't change the fact that you lied repeatedly instead of coming to me. I know, she repeated. I handled everything wrong. But Jack, I'm not Diane. I never cheated. I was trying to protect my career and the organization. I studied her face, searching for signs of deception. Why didn't you just tell me that from the beginning? Because I was scared, she admitted. Not just of how you'd react, but of losing everything I've worked for. The investigation is serious, Jack. If they find wrongdoing during my tenure, even if I didn't cause it, you'd be blacklisted in nonprofit circles. I finished, understanding the stakes. She nodded, eyes glistening. I should have trusted you. I'm asking for a chance to rebuild that trust. I looked down at the folder, then back at her. I need time. This isn't just about the investigation. It's about how easily you fell into patterns of deception. I understand, she said quietly. Just don't give up on us yet. As she turned to leave, I felt conflicted. The evidence suggested she might be telling the truth about not cheating, but the broader issue remained. When faced with difficulties, her instinct was to hide and deflect rather than face things head-on. That night, I read through every document in the folder. The investigation was real, serious enough to threaten careers. Brian's involvement appeared strictly professional, though the frequency of their meetings raised eyebrows. Mike listened patiently as I talked it through, then asked, "So what now?" I sighed, leaning back in my chair. Now I decide whether I can trust her again. Whether what we're building has a strong enough foundation to withstand this crack. And if it doesn't, I thought about the house we'd been renovating. All that work, all those plans, potentially for nothing. Then I walk away with my self-respect intact. Better to lose a dream than lose myself trying to save it. That night, I dreamed of the unfinished house, standing empty and abandoned as storm clouds gathered overhead. I woke with a sense of impending loss, but also strange clarity. Whatever happened next, I would face it on my terms. No compromises, no willful blindness. Just the hard truth, whatever it might be. After 3 days of sleeping on Mike's couch, I decided it was time to face Amanda. The investigation documents she'd provided checked out. I'd verified them with discreet calls to contacts in the industry. She hadn't lied about that, at least. I texted her, "Meet me at the house at 7. The new one." Her reply came instantly, "I'll be there." I spent the day at the construction site, working alongside my crew instead of managing from a distance. Physical labor had always centered me, and I needed that clarity now. By evening, my muscles ached, but my mind was clear. The setting sun cast long shadows across the half-finished house when Amanda's car pulled up. I was waiting on the front porch, sitting on a stack of lumber. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, keeping her distance. I nodded, surveying the property we'd chosen together. "I've been thinking about foundations," I said finally. "In construction, if the foundation has serious flaws, sometimes the only option is to tear everything down and start over." Her face fell. "Are you saying we're beyond repair?" "I'm saying I need to understand why you chose deception as your first response to trouble. That's not a small crack, Amanda. That's a fundamental flaw." She looked away. "I've spent my whole life handling things alone. When problems arise, I fix them myself." "That's not how partnerships work," I replied. "I know," she admitted. "My parents' marriage was difficult. Secrets were currency. Vulnerability was weakness. I learned to hide problems, not share them." For the first time, I glimpsed something genuinely raw in her explanation. Not an excuse, but context I hadn't considered. "I'm sorry about the investigation," I said. "It must be stressful." She nodded. "Terrifying, actually. Everything I've worked for could disappear. And Brian? Is he really just helping professionally?" "Yes," she said firmly. "He owes me. When we broke up, I could have reported some of his accounting shortcuts. I didn't." I raised an eyebrow. "Blackmail material?" "Insurance," she corrected. "I never used it until now." I stood, walked to the edge of the porch. "I can understand protecting your career. What I can't accept is being kept in the dark about something affecting our future." "I know that now," she said quietly. I turned to face her. "This house we're building, I designed it for a lifetime. Not for someone who will run and hide at the first sign of trouble. I want that lifetime too, Jack. I made a serious mistake, but please don't throw away everything we've built." The sun had almost disappeared now, bathing everything in deep orange. "I need honesty moving forward," I said finally. "Complete transparency. One more deception, no matter how small, and I'm gone for good." She nodded, tears spilling. "I promise." I didn't move to comfort her. Trust, once broken, couldn't be instantly restored, even with forgiveness. "We'll try again," I said, "but we rebuild from the ground up. Stronger this time." A year passed. Amanda and I rebuilt our relationship slowly, more carefully this time. The investigation at her organization concluded with no findings against her personally, though several board members resigned. Our wedding plans remained on hold by mutual agreement. We both want to be on solid ground first. Construction on the house finished in May. We decided not to move in right away, renting it out for 6 months while we continued working on ourselves. By December, we felt ready to take that step. Moving day arrived with perfect winter weather, cold but clear. As I carried the last box into our new living room, a sense of accomplishment washed over me. We'd built this home. We were making it work. That evening, after the movers left, Amanda uncorked a bottle of champagne. "To new beginnings," she toasted, her eyes bright. We spent the weekend settling in, arranging furniture, hanging pictures, making the space our own. By Sunday night, it felt like home. Monday morning, I kissed Amanda goodbye and headed to my newest project site. Around noon, my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. "Is this Jack Wilson?" a woman's voice asked. "Speaking. This is Dr. Mercer at Riverside Hospital. We have an Amanda Collins here. She's asked us to contact you." My blood ran cold. "What happened?" "She fainted at work. She's stable but asking for you." I broke every speed limit getting to the hospital. The emergency room nurse directed me to a curtained area where Amanda lay, pale but conscious. "I'm fine," she said when she saw my face. "Just embarrassed." The doctor appeared before I could respond. "Ms. Collins, your blood work came back." She glanced at me. Would you prefer to speak privately? Amanda gripped my hand. We have no secrets. Whatever it is, we face it together. The doctor nodded. Your hormone levels indicate you're about 8 weeks pregnant. The world seemed to stop. Amanda's hand tightened on mine. Pregnant, she whispered. Everything looks normal, the doctor continued. The fainting was likely due to low blood pressure, common in early pregnancy. I'll give you a moment. After she left, I looked at Amanda, whose expression was unreadable. Say something, she finally whispered. I sat on the edge of the bed, emotions swirling. We hadn't been trying, had barely discussed children as a possibility. I'm surprised I managed. Me too, she said, tears forming. This changes everything, doesn't it? I nodded slowly, the magnitude of the moment sinking in. It does. Are you upset? She asked cautiously. I considered the question, searching my feelings. No, I realized. Scared, overwhelmed, but not upset. Relief flooded her face. Really? Really? I confirmed, squeezing her hand. We built that house with extra bedrooms for a reason. She laughed through her tears. I thought those were for guests. I smiled, a strange calm settling over me. Life has its own plans sometimes. As we left the hospital, I felt different, like the ground had shifted beneath my feet, but in a way that felt right. The foundation we'd rebuilt was about to be tested by the biggest change imaginable. But this time, I believed it would hold. 8 months into Amanda's pregnancy, life had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. The nursery was painted, furniture assembled, tiny clothes washed and folded. We'd chosen not to learn the baby's gender, wanting at least one surprise in a journey that had already delivered so many. One evening, as I finished installing a ceiling fan in the nursery, Amanda called up from downstairs. Her voice sounded strange, strained. Jack, can you come down? Someone's here to see you. I found her in the living room, face pale, a man in a suit standing awkwardly by the fireplace. Jack Wilson, he asked, extending his hand. I'm Brian Caldwell, Amanda's ex. The forensic accountant she'd sworn was just helping with the investigation. What are you doing here? I asked, not taking his offered hand. Brian glanced at Amanda, who nodded slightly. I came to talk to you both, he said. About the baby. My stomach dropped. What about the baby? Brian looked uncomfortable. Amanda and I. There was a night, during your separation last year. Just once. The room seemed to tilt. I looked at Amanda, who couldn't meet my eyes. The timing, she whispered. It's possible the baby is his. I felt like I'd been punched. All those months rebuilding trust, planning our future, creating a home for our child who might not be mine at all. When were you going to tell me? I asked, voice hollow. I wasn't sure, she admitted. I'd convinced myself the timing meant it had to be yours. And now? I asked, gesturing to Brian's unwelcome presence. I heard about the pregnancy through a mutual friend, he said. I did the math. I have a right to know. A right. As if this were about legal entitlements rather than lives being shattered. So you want a paternity test? I said flatly. Brian nodded. Amanda stared at the floor, one hand protectively over her belly. I walked to the window, staring out at the home we'd built, the future we'd planned. Everything now hanging by a thread, contingent on genetic chance. I need air, I said finally, grabbing my keys. Jack, please. Amanda reached for me. Not now. I cut her off, voice sharper than I'd intended. I need to think. I left without looking back, the sound of Amanda's quiet sobs following me out the door. I drove for hours that night, processing the revelation about Amanda's pregnancy. Dawn was breaking when I finally returned home, decision made. Amanda was on the couch, clearly having waited all night. Her eyes were red, face puffy from crying. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I should have told you when I first realized the possibility. I sat across from her, keeping deliberate distance between us. Yes, you should have. What happens now? She asked, voice small. Now we get paternity test. I replied evenly. After the baby is born. And if it's Brian's? The question I'd been wrestling with all night. The answer came clearer than I expected. Then he has rights as a father. But this child, whoever provided the DNA, has been growing in our home, in our plans for 8 months. I won't abandon that. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You would raise another man's child? I would raise a child who needs a father. Whose mother I paused, realizing with surprise it was still true. Whose mother I love, despite everything. Even after I lied again, she whispered. Omission is still deception, I said firmly. We'll need counseling, transparency, work. But I'm not walking away. Not from you. Not from this baby. 2 weeks later, Amanda went into early labor. The delivery was quick, intense, a perfect baby boy placed in her arms as I stood beside her, emotions too complex to name swirling through me. Looking at his tiny face, I realized something profound. DNA didn't matter. This child needed love, stability, protection, things I could provide regardless of biology. The paternity test, when it came, was almost anticlimactic. The doctor called with results while Amanda was nursing. I put the phone on speaker. Congratulations, Mr. Wilson. You are definitely the father. Amanda burst into tears of relief. I felt a strange mix of emotions, joy, vindication, and lingering sadness that we'd had to question something so fundamental. As I held my son later that evening, his tiny hand wrapped around my finger, I understood that the foundation we'd built had faced its ultimate test and held. The cracks would always be there, part of our history, but they had made us stronger, more vigilant. Some might have walked away. But real strength isn't found in leaving when things get hard. It's found in staying, in rebuilding, in choosing love despite pain. That's the legacy I wanted for my son.